Thanks, everyone. Yeah, so the rendering API is not ready yet. So I'm going to give a different talk about Bun. Kind of like, first I'm going to kind of give a little overview of like what is actually Bun, and kind of where we, kind of like Bun's like past, present, and also the future. Kind of where Bun kind of started was like really frustrated with, for years I'd been really frustrated with how slow everything is in JavaScript tooling. Like, why does installing your packages take sometimes minutes if you're at like a big company? Why does running the test take a long time? Why does why does every command feel pretty slow? Like when you just run a command in your terminal. And a lot of that is because like the complexity of everything that, like there's a lot of layers in the stack, and so if you compress the layers, then you get less stuff, and performance improves. So Bun is an incredibly fast JavaScript runtime. It's really four things in one. It's a JavaScript runtime, it's a package manager, it's a test runner, and it's a bundler. And each of these pieces kind of uses the other piece. So like, for example, the package manager uses the same like JSON parser that the runtime uses, which is also used by the bundler. The bundler, at runtime, we transpile every single file. And so that uses the same stuff from the bundler. And this transpiler in Bun was built for Bun specifically. It's not using any existing libraries. And the bundler also has support for things like React and CSS, as well as TypeScript and JSX. You can also compile single file executables. For example, that Cloud Code, for example, uses that feature. And we spend a lot of time on Node.js compatibility. Originally, Bun was designed to be a drop-in replacement for Node.js. And what that means is pretty much everything needs to work. We consider it a bug in Bun if something works in Node and doesn't work in Bun. And so if you do run into an issue like that, please just file an issue in Bun's repo. We do have a lot of GitHub issues open, but we do actually read all of them. It just takes a lot of time, but it's important. And we spent a lot of time just working on getting Node's test suite to pass in Bun, and we're still working on that. These numbers are slightly out of date. There's a bit more passing now. So there's other parts of Bun too. So we have an incredibly fast NPM package manager. In the previous version of Bun, we made it faster because there are certain really common NPM packages that don't need to run either post-install scripts or lifecycle scripts, but they're sort of, or like when they do need to run them, the situation where they need to run them is very limited. Like if you didn't use, or if you skipped optional dependencies. So there's a lot of tricks that we can do and we continue to do to make Bun install really fast. We also recently added support for PNPM Lockfile migration. We wrote a whole YAML parser just for that, pretty much. And because of kind of going back to what I was saying earlier about the different pieces of Bun, uses the different pieces of Bun, that YAML parser that we wrote for PNPM Lockfile migration is also used by the bundler, so you can import YAML files in JavaScript at the runtime or at the bundler. So like if you're building for front end, you can import the YAML file in your front end code, and then the bundler will bundle it into JavaScript. And then if you're importing it in the runtime, then you can just run a file. And this is like pretty good for like config stuff where maybe you want to load some GitHub action configuration or something along those lines. Bun test is a JS compatible test runner. Uses the same expect API. And we also implement parts of like the vtest specific APIs, like the VI global is there. And we kind of add like a lot of built-in APIs. This is something I think has been missing for a long time in the JavaScript ecosystem, that there's too many small packages that do something. You just have to install so many dependencies to be productive. And it's not necessary. And in fact, it's faster if you can do it in the runtime, because there's just a lot of optimizations that are you can do in like kind of philosophically, we try to make every single part of Bun really fast. And it takes a lot of work to do that, but it makes the product so much better. And it just makes it so much faster to build stuff too. Because it's like you can use the standard library or like the built-in library and expect it to be fast and work pretty well. So like, for example, Bun password lets you, it's like Argon 2 or bcrypt. You can choose which one, which are like the modern password hashing algorithms. We have a built-in WebSocket server with pub sub, which is pretty nice because it means you can send the same message to a group of connections at the same time. And that ends up being also a performance improvement because you can batch up the overhead for the WebSocket protocol queuing. We have a built-in file glob API. We have a built-in cross-platform shell. It's very bash-like, so generally, this was originally made. This is another case where we like reuse stuff across different parts of Bun. So like for the package manager on Windows, people frequently have to install rimraf, which is like rm-rf, but as an npm package. And so with the Bun shell, you can just use rm-rf in your package JSON scripts, and it'll work on Windows, even though Windows doesn't support rm. We also have a built-in Postgres client using the SQL tag template literal syntax. We also have a built-in MySQL client. And it has basically the same syntax as the Postgres client. You can see that there at the bottom. You just change out the protocol, and we're like, oh, this is MySQL. Let's connect with MySQL instead. And this is a really good way to like, it makes it just really easy to switch database providers or use your whatever database adapter you want. We also have a built-in Redis client. And Redis is like a popular key value store. Generally, the philosophy here is like, these are all like Redis, MySQL, Postgres, S3, and the others. These are all like very old, not old, but like mature standards that like there's existing software that like we try to not use any bespoke internal stuff that's like Bun specific. Like and also all of the APIs are like based on an existing thing. So like the actual API interface here is pretty much the same as Postgres.js. This Redis client is mostly similar to IO Redis. It's not 100% mapping it, but pretty close. And that also de-risks some of this because it's like, okay, part of the challenge, there's like what APIs should Bun have, and then also what should those APIs look like. And generally, the thing about a runtime is that you basically can't have breaking changes ever. Because it's also just not really worth the time to deal with breaking changes from like the user's perspective. So it's much less risky for us if we base whatever API we add on some existing common pattern in the ecosystem, and we try hard to like not invent new things. And then we optimize a lot of it. Like for example, the Redis client, every time you do any network activity on it, any of the commands, it doesn't send them immediately. It uses what we call a deferred task queue. Basically, it batches all of the network calls to be after all of the microtasks are drained, but before the next tick of the event loop. And that means that we can then combine all the network calls to send to, which is the system call it uses, automatically without the user having to do anything themselves. And that makes it a lot faster. We also have a built-in file API, bun.file. We do not yet have a directory API, which is kind of silly. We also have a built-in S3 API, and the S3 API and the file API are basically the same thing. And that's because like S3 is generally what servers use for production like file systems. So ideally, the remote file system API is pretty much the same as your local, so that way it's easy to test between the two. It also just makes it really easy to like read a file as JSON. This is such a common thing. It should be really easy. We also have a bunch of random kind of like, they're not random, but like basically when there's a package that has tens of millions of or more of weekly downloads at NPM, and they're like really small, with like a very clear use case that's probably never going to go away. Like, for example, stripping the colors for ANSI terminal, for writing to the terminal. This is the kind of thing where we can make it a lot faster mostly by using SIMD, but also by implementing it in native code. SIMD stands for single instruction multiple data. Basically, it's a set of CPU instructions that lets the CPU operate on more than one character or byte at a time. So in this case, we get a 10x performance improvement, and it has implements the same interface as the strip-ANSI package. Similar to that, we have the bun.stringWidth function, which is a 6,000 times faster string-width replacement. This one doesn't allocate any memory, which is why we can make it 6,000 times faster instead of only 10 times faster. And for this, this is using some code from the Ghost TTY terminal. And this just calculates what is the width of the string as the user sees it in their terminal. So that accounts for like graphemes, which are like bigger, which are like potentially multi-byte non-ASCII characters, or Unicode characters that can be sometimes combined together, because like different emoji. This is going to get into a tangent. I'll stop talking. So kind of like why, like, this is a lot of, like, if you were to just look at this, you'd be like, okay, why did you add all this stuff? Because these are all sort of seemingly random, like strip, ANSI, string width, and file, and S3, and Redis, and MySQL, and password, and the WebSockets server. These are all kind of just different things entirely. And I think overall, like, JavaScript just isn't productive enough today. Other language ecosystems are often more productive. Like Ruby on Rails has like built-in database, has validations, it has all this stuff where a lot of the time in programming is spent, what tools do I use, and what boxes do I put them in? With React, it's usually everything is a React component. With Rails, it's like everything is like a controller, or either somewhere in the controller or somewhere in the model. And so a big part of the reason why JavaScript isn't productive enough is because there's too many different NPM packages. You have to spend too much time shopping for libraries. And so if you put a lot of stuff built in, everything gets simpler. Another thing too is that like hardware over the years gets faster, but like our computers don't really feel that much faster generally. The pace at which hardware gets faster doesn't really catch up with software. So part of that is because a lot of the hardware improvements are most visible with things like SIMD, where the computer is able to operate on multiple, on more than one item or byte or whatever at a time. And in JavaScript, it's difficult to express that. But that's how we're able to get for like string width, jumping back, like, because this is using SIMD, so it can do like 64 characters at a time or 32 characters at a time instead of operating over one at a time. So all that's great. Like Bun does a lot of stuff, but like I think it's also useful to talk about like who actually uses Bun, because we're not yet the #1 JavaScript runtime. And honestly, it's really exciting. We're getting so much more production usage this year than in any previous year. And we're still like relatively new, but yeah, like MidJourney's whole backend runs on Bun. Cloud Code uses Bun. The Portland Trailblazers use Bun for like data science stuff, which I learned the other day. You can, as of pretty recently, you can deploy to production Bun's runtime on Vercel. DataDog uses Bun in some of their open source repos. CodeRabbit's CLI uses Bun. And so, yeah, so as of pretty recently, there's two easy ways to deploy Bun. You can either use Vercel functions, or you can use Railway functions. And this is like the full runtime, so you can use all the frameworks that are specific to Bun, and as well as all the Bun APIs. But it's still kind of difficult to deploy Bun. The bundler doesn't, if you're building like a full stack app with Bun, then it's very difficult to be like, here's all the parts that care about the front end, here's all the parts that care about the back end, here's what should go on a CDN, here's what should be in my server. And this is something we're going to be working on more pretty soon. We're going to add a bun deploy subcommand that will kind of generate this manifest and make it really easy to deploy bun to other hosting providers, a variety of different hosting providers. We're also going to make a lot more progress on Node.js compatibility. That's going to be a big focus. We've already made a lot of progress on this, but like we're not there yet, and there still are things that come up, like there's a playwright. There's some issues with that we need to fix on our end. There's some issues with worker threads, and there's a lot of stuff like that. But it's like so much better than it used to be. This is also a thing that I've been thinking about a lot, that like AI stuff has gotten really good. It was like kind of terrible 2 years ago. It was okay 6 months ago, a year ago. But now it's like, it can write a lot of code. So that probably means it's going to be writing a lot of code in the future. So I don't really know what's going to happen there, but this is something that's on my mind. And because we have all this stuff built in, what we see is a lot of our users just delete a bunch of dependencies and switch to, when they switch to bun. So like, there's like all that stuff, but then it's like, how do I actually use bun? Well, the easiest way to use bun is to just switch out setup bun or setup node in your GitHub action to be setup bun, and then where it says npm or node, just switch it to bun. That's also why we have like bun run, and then also you can run a file just by calling bun. It kind of is like, should it be like Node.js? Should it be like npm? Yeah, you can also install bun this way. The curl script is generally what I recommend, or the PowerShell script, because we automatically detect whether your CPU is recent or not, and then choose the faster version of bun if your CPU is relatively recent. Yeah. Any questions?